just to give some background and welcome you onto the podcast, can you just give a little bit of information about yourself just so I can get to know you?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for having me, Andrew. So my name is Uros, born and raised in Serbia, and I moved to the States about 10 years ago. And ever since then, I've been doing this job, what I'm doing right now.
So, what was your childhood like? What was your childhood environment? How did you grow up?
So it's a little bit different than here. My parents had a small grocery store. They run their own business for a while. And that's pretty much where I got my desire to become a business owner one day. But growing up in Novi Sad, Serbia was pretty nice. It's a small city. It's about 300,000 people. Went to elementary school, high school, college over there, and then I moved to the States.
Did you have any pressure from your childhood environment, and did this actually affect what you wanted to do when you're older? Like living conditions, your parents, their role towards you. Were there any just pressures that you felt, especially now with them being business owners to you being business owners? Is there any correlation?
Not really a pressure, but you see your parents doing something every day. They put so much or so many emotions towards the business they own, so many hours, hard work, all of this stuff. And you see that every day. And it kind of makes you want to have your own business, you want to develop something and bring it to another level, maybe.
So, would you say that their actions kind of influenced you to where you are now, though, not in a pressure, just the way they were in their upbringing?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, there was no pressure, as I said. It was just their love towards their business. I kind of noticed that growing up, as well as my brother. He's a business owner as well. Growing up, you see them, as I said, put this hard work and dedication, and you just kind of embrace that. And I'm here now.
So, were you able to form your own perspective on your future throughout like high school? And is high school where you grew up like is that the same or is it like different from here?
I never been to high school here, so I can't tell you if it's different or not. But my high school days, what I was studying, what I was doing in that point in my life, where I was going, all that stuff is not even closely related to what I'm doing right now. It was totally different story, totally different life, and that's completely another story.
So, what choices did you make kind of after high school? And if you had any plans for college, did you like when did you decide you maybe wanted to move here? Like, when was there like this turning point for you?
Right. So after high school, you got to go to college. I think it's very important to get a college degree or university degree. It shows you can show up somewhere on time, do your work, put that effort in, whatever that effort might be. Maybe A, maybe B, maybe C. Doesn't matter. You show up, you do your work, and that's very important. And that's how my parents were thinking and kind of made us go to college or explain us why the college is important. That's why I ended up going to one back home in Serbia. And that's a lot different than college here in many different ways. And then third year of college, because we have 3 years plus 2 years of college instead
Is
of
the plus 2 years like a graduate school or is it just like a
so I wouldn't know how to explain you exactly, but you study for 3 years straight, and then you have masters for 2 years, or you can do 4 years university and then 1 year masters. So it's a little bit different way of doing it than here. But I had to go in sense of like my parents made this little pressure explaining me why it's important. And I'm glad I did go to college. I ended up being president of student parliament over there. I did a lot of extra work, a lot of volunteer work, and it definitely helped me build myself over those 3 years.
what degree did you choose for college or what was your focus of study?
So that's interesting. So I studied a faculty of applied safety. So that translates into I can work in any services such as police department or fire department, emergency department, any kind of department that correlates to a safety of people, environment, nature, and things like that.
Would you say that that was worth it, or would you say that because now you're a business owner, so would you say from being an entrepreneur perspective, was that a worth it focus for you throughout college?
Yes, definitely. I think every single class I took back home and here throughout the years, it helped me become a person I am today. I'm very happy with the person I am today. So I wouldn't necessarily delete any years of my college or any classes. As I said, they have nothing to do what I do now, but in sense of every single lesson I learned maybe helped me become a better person or understand something from a different perspective, as my college was safety classes and safety courses, so you kind of learn to be around the people, notice the situation, become a detail oriented person. So it definitely helped me.
Okay, so let's just kind of dive into your current work field. So, just can you just give through your perspective? What do you do right now, and like give your thoughts on that?
Right, so we provide a luxury transportation services in DMV area, DC, Maryland, Virginia. That's it, very simple, one sentence.
Do you have any career paths that got you to where you are now? Like anything you did before that?
Not really. The way it happened is I was introduced to the guy who is also Serbian, and I saw him in a nice car in a suit, and I asked him, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" And he was here in Arlington, Virginia, and he's like, "Oh, I'm just driving for this limousine service." I was like, "Can I get in? What's the requirements?" He said, "Sure, I'll talk to the boss," and that's how I ended up getting a job and started driving for that company. I don't want to name it, but yeah.
Did you have any? Would you say you had any like regrets throughout getting to where you are now, or not really?
One regret, not becoming a business owner sooner than I did.
Why is that?
I felt like there was a lot of thinking. I, kind of overthink the process of becoming the owner. It's much easier than people think it is. It was that fear of, failing, and that's why took me a couple of years to work for others and then realize that I can do much better than this and start my own business or with my business partner.
Well, so would you say the hardest part is just like starting, just like kind of like realizing you can do your own thing and making the first step?
The hardest part is making that decision, not necessarily the process of starting the company and starting the business, but making that decision and thinking of, out loud, I'm ready for this, I'm ready to take the next step and things like that. So you have to be brave, you know. And I was kind of late on that brave part. That's the only regret.
So, but what was like your path from moving? Well, when exactly did you move from your home country to here?
When?
Yeah.
In 2016.
What was like the path that you had to go through, and what did you what was the process of moving from your home country to now being full citizenship in the U.S.? Can you just give a little
Right.
bit background on that?
Sure. I wouldn't get into some details, but the path was very strange and a lot of learning about different lifestyle, different culture, different people, different religions, just in general, different life. Just to put it in perspective, coming from Serbia at 22, you walk into the bank, you want to get your credit card, you want to get your credit score, all this basic stuff. I had no clue about. It does not exist in Serbia, and that it's not as important. Let's put it that way. So, from the basic stuff of getting groceries, learning about rental history, for example, what's rental history? How do I fill out a rental application? Things like that in Serbia pretty much do not exist. You pretty much go to the owner and say, "Hey, I would like to rent your apartment." And he said, "This is how much money," and that's it. You don't have a contract. You don't have stuff like that. Well, now it's a little bit different. But back in the days, I was 22. I didn't know nothing about it. I lived with my parents for 20 years, So that kind of process of getting adjusting to the life here, that was a long learning curve.
Do you have any advice for someone else who's trying to go through this process and trying to adjust to the like American, like the change between norms in like America and the U.S.?
But the only advice I would say, always do it. If you feel like moving the environment where you're at, it doesn't matter if it's Serbia, if it's Italy, Spain, France, and you want to move to Canada, Australia, it doesn't matter where you want to go. The only thing I've learned over the last 10 years is patience. You need patience for everything. Every single process, every single application, no one is going to respond to you within one day. It's going to take a week or two or a month. For some major immigration paperwork, it takes years.
Would you say that your childhood environment or parents have any effect on your work ethic today?
Oh yeah, for sure. I will just give you an example. My mom and dad owned a small grocery store, as I said earlier, and they would get up very early to get everything ready and set and ready to go for 5 a.m. So you can imagine how early they have to get up every single day to prepare everything for store to be open at 5 a.m. And it was just them. They had an employee who would come and do the shift, but it was such a small store that they didn't have the full team, let's say, or any help. It was just them. That's it.
Would you say that because I know that in about during COVID time you worked with like trucks and all that stuff? Would you say that the pandemic had any effect or change on where you are now from what you did do before?
Definitely. The way it changed my perspective, how things can go from 0 to 100, 100 to 0, and back to 100 within a month. That's exactly what happened in my life in that moment.
Did it make you appreciate things more, or did it have any effect on your motivation and the way you work, what you do now?
Yes, in the way of, I was working really hard at that time, really hard, and I understood the importance of health and importance of being able to provide for you and your family, importance of having financial stability in your life. So meaning have some money on the side, have your rent paid up front for a couple months or something like that. So those year or year and a half in COVID times really helped me understand and better deal with my financial troubles. Eventually, they might come up.
Would you say that you would recommend just trying to do your own thing and push for your own independence for like a more like how does it affect a financial stability if you push for your own independence like in the working field?
It is hard. Personally, me, I didn't have anyone to help me out. There were some people throughout my journey here in the States that helped me tremendously, and I'm forever thankful for them. But you're pretty much financially unstable if you're a business owner for quite some time. I don't know if I put that right, but you have to work really hard, and everything you make, if you want to grow, you have to reinvest that money back into your business, and then you have to be really careful with your own spendings. So that's exactly what's happening. I think for every business owner, every small business owner, where they make some money, business is going well, but I think if they're smart about it, they will invest money back into their business or either equipment, buying better cars, hiring people, spending money on marketing, social media, any of that stuff.
What advice would you also give to anyone or any kids who want to become an entrepreneur or business owner, but they feel like they have no help to, and they feel like they have no one to like rely on or to assist them?
That's a really good question. I would say number one is patience, as I said earlier. I think that's the number one lesson for life. You got to be patient. You got to work on your income first. Make some money doing whatever you think, being packing groceries in a grocery store or doing any kind of job, really Starbucks or whatever they would hire you. Save some money and come up with a plan. I was trying to figure out, for example, at the beginning, what would I do? What business would I do if I start business? And I start thinking and thinking, and you can't really come up with something new. Maybe, but it's really rare the brains that can think that way. I got into business that is multi-billion-dollar industry, and there is a place for me in that business as well. So that shows you exactly how much or how many businesses out there fighting for just to win the market, just to get more money.
Would you say that there's any misconceptions about being a business owner and like your career path towards entrepreneurship that you've kind of seen over the years?
Not as a business owner, but as a chauffeur, as a business that we do, yes, a lot. A lot of people think, oh, you're just a driver. You got people from point A to point B. It's definitely much more than that. And over the years, I got to meet some wonderful people, some wonderful families, part of their families. Number one selling product in my business is trust. When you develop a trust between you and your client, it's a much more than just driving from point A to point B. Pretty much, you're very well connected to your client. It's not just point A to point B, right?
Would you say that along with misconceptions, you faced any just discrimination or any sorts of violence that have made, not necessarily physical, but that has just made you reconsider what you do and where you are right now?
It was just once, really. And I would never reconsider something out doing my job just because someone said something to me, because I don't allow those things to hurt me. I think it's very important to stay mentally, emotionally, physically ready for anything to come your way. But it was one situation where I was called names just because I'm coming from somewhere else, and that wasn't pleasant at all. But it's something I went through, and that's it.
What would you say to anyone or even like a kid or a child who wants to start becoming an entrepreneur but they face this discrimination? What advice would you give to them to be mentally stronger?
Just as I told you, get mentally strong, emotionally stronger, physically stronger. I think it is important to find that balance in life in general, where you can achieve that, to not be bothered by things outside of you. Of course, I get bothered by something every single day. Today, I was bothered with many things. Tomorrow, I'll be grumpy again. But again, patience, you will learn how to deal with those things. You're going to learn how to overcome those things. It just takes time, and experience, of course.
So, will you, if you do, I don't know if you do or if you do not already, but will you convince your children to pursue a similar career path as being an entrepreneur, or do you feel that they can do whatever they want and you will not have any step into it? Because you mentioned when you were a child, you were kind of influenced under going to college. You have to do this, you have to do that. Will you kind of be influencing your child's career paths and decisions to be an entrepreneur, to go into college, doing this, or do you feel that they can do whatever they want to do?
Well, you're kind of dividing those two things, being a entrepreneur or going to college. Why not both? Yeah. I think it's getting a college degree is very important. While you're in the school, as I said, you learn many things, and not necessarily the things they present to you, the books and all the stuff, classes and stuff like that. I mean, life things. I think it's important to, and I would like my kids, if I had them one day, to go to school and go to college and get a degree, just because, as I said, it shows that you can show up on time, be presentable, do things they give you, and finish the 4 or 5 years or 3 years or whatever the college, or how long it takes.
Okay, those are all. That's just really interesting. Thank you for your time. Those are all the questions I have for you. If you have any remaining questions for me or anything else, we can go through those, and if not, we can just finish off.
Well, I would like to ask you one question. If money wasn't a thing, if so, we don't get paid for our jobs. Give me one job in your mind that you would like to do.
When I'm older, I feel like for me, I don't know because for me, when I look up and I look at like space and astronomy, that to me is like really interesting and mesmerizing. So, I mean, I always think about being an aerospace engineer because that's like something that I'm really interested in. But I feel like I don't really know because I feel like everything's always changing and whatever path I go down, it's meant to be, and I can't really predict that. But I feel like if I could predict it and I like could choose, I feel like that would most likely be my first choice.
And why is that? You're just love the astronomy and all that, or
I feel like I've always just been pulled to that. I feel like I mean, there's obviously going to be the influence of like parents and that's kind of why I have this podcast, so kids can break out from their parents' influence and see things for themselves, or even just choose the other opportunities. So for me though, I feel like my engineering interest is not necessarily from my parents. I feel like I was able to branch out and get my own understanding and read books and learn about why I actually like the sciences. And then when I kind of a few years ago recently started being interested in astronomy and space, I kind of put the two together and kind of connected them. So it's kind of been a mix of like over the years putting everything together.
Right. You just said yourself over the years, it's just going to take time for you to clarify, hey, I think this is what I want to be one day. Also, I met people, a lot of my friends are business owners. A lot of my friends are business owners. And I think it's important for you to realize that you might not come up with answer on my question right away or in a year or two or five, but you still have to progress. You still have to work on yourself. Have that number one thing that I told you about earlier, and that's patience. And then somewhere along the lines, you will see how you're going to fit in a certain direction that is just presented in front of
What did you want to do? Just kind of flipping back on you.
you. Right.
Did you know what you wanted to be or do when you were really young?
Oh, when I was really young, the only thing I wanted to be is a soccer player.
Really?
That's the only thing I wanted to be.
Is
Uh,
that a big like sport back home for you or
oh
no?
yeah, it's huge. Well, the other thing is in Serbia, you generally grew up playing sports. It's either basketball or soccer. And for me, it was soccer. My brother played soccer for a long time, and I don't want to say we made a success in that sport necessarily, but we played a lot of years just out of love. And that was one thing that it was really hard to give up. That was like true love.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. If you have any remaining questions, you can ask them, and if not, then I think it's been a really interesting conversation.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to be here tonight with you.
Thank you.